Pow, pow, pow. That's Freedom Phil. What's the topic? Women always complain that they can't find high-value men, but our system basically punishes men for being high-value men. Marriage, divorce is crippling, and yet they're like, why can't we find high-value men? Well, because every time you find one, you usually destroy them. And that's what I want to talk about. Freedom Phil, like, subscribe, let's get into it, and hey, turn up the video speed. And by the way, if you want to talk, gotta be a subscriber. Not a subscriber, why are you talking? No offense. Let's get into it. I'm sitting there looking at the situation when it comes to, the state of men and women in America and the West in general. And I look at the divorce courts and I'm like, it almost seems like a really well done plan of how to keep working class people working their whole damn lives. I mean, you could be retired in America, for instance, by the age of 30. It's like you get your house paid off. Like, for instance, buy in the Midwest, buy a cheaper house out there. You can get a nice place for anywhere from 50 to 100,000, maybe 30. If you know how to rebuild, you can get a place for 20, and you got a house paid off. Then your cost of living is basically little if nothing. I mean, if you felt like working, you could just take a side gig, maybe work part of the year if you felt like it, just for shits and giggles. But if your money was invested when you're young, and every 100,000 making 10%, so you got 300 to 400, maybe 500,000. So anywhere from 30 to 50K just poof into existence, and you're only spending $5,000 to $10,000 a year, to live. Basically, at that point, you're good for the rest of your life. You're probably the best person to be a father because you have the most time to spend with your kids, have the most time to tutor them and educate them. And what does this society do with these men? Well, when she gets divorced, she gets 50%. And a lot of times, if you really think about it, she gets vastly more than 50% because you might have been putting in 80 or 90% of the work and the labor. Now, I'm not trying to discredit what women do at home because there is value to that. But I get a little sick and tired of this argument I hear where they're like, well, she did all this work with the kids, and if you had to hire a nanny, oh, okay, so what are you saying? Like, we should hire a nanny? Aren't you the mother of these children? Did you decide to have these children? Why do you need to be paid for something you decided to have? It's like someone saying, you deserve to be paid because you fed your dog. What the fuck? You would never make that argument. It's retarded. And yet they make the same argument for cleaning. Well, she cleaned the house. What, did you not clean your house before you got married? Some women, these days, you see these women can't cook, can't clean, can't do much of anything, but she got a pussy. She's a modern woman. She got a pussy. She still got that. Your Peggy Bundys of the world. Goes out and pisses away the money and then acts ungrateful the whole way along, I almost swear to God that show is like programming to get people to be that way. But you think about it for a second, and what's really in it for a man? Okay, so he loves his kids. There's nothing wrong with that. And I'd have to wonder, would we have more of a stable world if men were allowed to have surrogacy? It's like, by the way, the cooking thing, it's overrated. Anybody can fucking cook. And the reason that women were doing the cooking is because a guy used to be working. A lot of times you're working from sun up to sundown. So you needed someone to make the food at home so you could work that extra hour. Think about that for a second. A man's life is expected to be some form of slavery for the most part. A woman's life is like, oh my God, I had to cook today. Like the same thing you did. It's a whole ass wiping equation. Did you not wipe your ass before you were in a relationship? And now you expect to be paid for wiping your ass? That's the way I look at a lot of the things when women talk about work at home. And I'm like, what are you doing? And then if you are a high value male where you've basically done retirement by 30 or 7 to 10 years, you've got your house paid off. Let's say you buy an affordable place in the Midwest or Texas or wherever. And you've got your investments making you money. It would be in your best interest to never get married. Yeah, I actually prefer to do laundry in the river, but that's another thing. You have a laundry machine. Goes in, does its thing. You go back to doing something else, frees up time for other things, and then you throw it in the dryer. Or if you're smart, you just use a clothes hanger outside. Because hey, why pay for the electricity if you don't have to? But the point is that life is really fucking easy if you don't slow yourself down with what is basically a giant liability. And I think it's kind of sad that we live in a world where you're better off as a man not getting married because women are a fucking liability. And if you want to get married, you're better off going to another country where they still have traditional values. This is actually where, for all the things people rag on white people about, I think the minorities, they actually have a situation. Like if you're black, there are so many countries. There are beautiful black women out there. Between Africa and the Caribbean, if you're Asian, no shortage of Asian women out there throughout the world. If you're, Latino, whole of South America. And this is kind of where I know some people would be pissed about this, the whole idea of race mixing. Some people are weird like that. They're like, I get it. Maybe they want their kids to look like them. But as a white dude, you're better off, like, say, some Asian country, or if you like the white Latinos, you're better off moving to a country where they actually have traditional marriage and just letting your money make money in America. You don't bring them back. You come back to visit. That's all you do at the max. Or you pay to have your family flown in to visit you because you have a lot to lose in the case of divorce. Now, women are always complaining that they can't find a high-value man. But how are you going to have high-value men when most of the value in a man is extracted from bullshit? Like, I want this car. You need to have a better-looking vehicle. Well, we need to go to a trip to this place and that place. Why don't you pay for it, honey? What? Me pay? We need to go to these luxury restaurants. What do you mean you want me to cook? I'm sorry, but sometimes when women complain about dudes, it's like, do you chicks not understand that your life is basically like it's somewhere, I understand having a period sucks. I grant you that. Yeah, that's pretty shitty. That part sucks. But like, other than that, if you got these dudes, these simpy McSimpersons out there, and they're willing to pay for your house, your cell phone, your vehicle payment. They're literally taking what could have been invested and making them basically infinite money glitch at a young age. All just got flittered away for things. Furniture, granite countertops, stuff that does not matter. I think our entire economy is based off pussy. The world economy is based off pussy. Like, why did caveman Ugg go out and track down the mastodon? Why did a group of people nearly get killed trying to kill that woolly mammoth? For pussy. And you go and look at how many wars and how many different things were fought. Power and conquest. But why were people willing to die for the village? Because of their wife and children. Why are men today working themselves into an early grave? Pussy. This thing has not changed since the dawn of time. And yet, if you're a man who says, I'm just not doing this. I'm not having this. You walk away, and then you can live off almost next to nothing while still making a real wage, like 80 to 100K. I know some people like, fucking 80K, I need 160K. I'm like, wow, what the fuck do you need that much money for? I mean, it's not this bad thing, but why do you have to make that much? And the answer for that is really simple. To keep everyone else around you happy. Now, this is where we get into something that a lot of women don't like, but I think it is probably the future for men that just want to have kids but not deal with a potential liability of a wife. Surrogacy. I know some people look at it as like, oh my God, it's so evil. But imagine for a second, you do want to have a family as a guy. And You've got your money figured out. You've already got your house paid off. You did retirement by 30. You worked your ass off, whether it was truck driving, trades, or whatever. You got a real degree, something that pays. And you lived as minimalistically as possible. Investing when you're young. At this point, your money's making you money. You never have to go back to work unless you feel like it. At that point, you are literally the best guy to raise children, to have a family. You are the best man. By the way, and you want to talk, you just got to be a subscriber. I'm just saying. You look at the situation. That man will provide more of a stable household for those children than the standard marriage model. Y'all don't hear me. Because that man doesn't have to go to work because he had his act together and he outright owns his home, he is capable of providing a better life for his children. Now, you add a woman into that equation, no offense, ladies, that could take half of everything he's worked for, potentially ruin his life with false accusations. You take a guy who gets married, who did everything right, and you are potentially risking everything just for that relationship. Now, what quality thinking man would do that? What man would sign up for that crap? And you're seeing more and more. Dudes are ghosting in plain sight. They make money. People will think you're broke or something like that. Well, why doesn't he do this? Why doesn't he get a new car? Well, what if he likes his old car? Like, have you ever seen a classic car? Like, let me tell you something. You see some of these brand new vehicles? And I was looking at a car that I actually kind of like. You had one a long time ago. It was a 72 Grabber Maverick with the original hood scoop, the 302 Boss engine, bucket seats, dual pipes. There are very few of those cars rolling around. There's Mavericks, but Grabber Mavericks are like the sports model. Yeah, funny enough. You almost never see one of those cars. I could buy one restored for anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000. Look what a brand new car cost. Just a commuter, you're talking around 30 grand. A nice vehicle, 50 grand. One of those overpriced pickups or an Escalade, we're talking 80 to 90 grand. For a fucking people mover. But as a man who actually has his act together, you could go out and buy a classic car restored for anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000, depending on what you're buying. You want to buy something really pimped out, you're going to pay. But what's my point in that? Once you are basically retired by the age of 7 to 10 years, retirement by 30, you don't need that brand new car, that commuter car. You don't need it. The only reason you need all that shit is because everybody else is extracting your wealth from you. Just like you see in the case, like Aaron Clary said about this. He wrote the book of Numbers, the R&I on women, and he was pointing out, if you worked the same amount of time that you spent into those dating apps or, swiping here, how many hours a day, if you put 1 extra hour a day into your work and then took that money and invested it, how much it would pay out if you put it in, like, just to say the S&P or something and left it there for 30 years. And the numbers on that are fucking astounding. The money, like the $100 or so that you paid for that date, how much money you'd be making down the road. Quite literally, our economy is based off pussy, as I said before. Everything men do is to keep everyone else happy. And when you stop caring about that shit and you're just doing it for yourself, you realize how good it is to be an American. And that's what's funny about it. It's sad. Let's look at it. It's sad, in my opinion, in the modern age, that the thing that built society for thousands of years of a man and a woman coming together and raising a family is now a negative to your life as a man. There's something wrong with that. And I think it's planned this way. If you could keep people doing the reset every so many years, then they ain't never going to leave legacy wealth for their children. Let me repeat that. If you keep people doing the reset every so many years, they will never leave legacy wealth. And our system is set up to be that way. So when I hear these women always saying, we can't find a good man, that's because every time a good man comes along, you fucking destroy him. You treat men like a workhorse. And when that guy gets a little limp from an accident, you get the horse blinders and you shoot him and send him to the glue factory, the dog food and glue factory. Now, if you're a wild stallion running free, why the hell would you sign up for that? I don't say this to be offensive. I just state it as it is. Most of the guys I knew growing up that got married, and I don't know if one of them's still married. Maybe Robert's still married. But the rest of my friends all got divorced. And most of the time it's because some fuck shit the woman was doing. So it was like they just stopped feeling a certain way, or they got feelings for some other guy. One guy I knew, his ex slept with 6 of his friends. Not all at once. She's a whore, but not that much of a whore. You know? He was out working a job that he hated doing to feed a family. And how often is that the tale? Now, I'm not saying guys don't fuck up, and there ain't some guys that aren't abusive, because there are. But if you are a horrible woman, the system rewards you. It rewards you for being a horrible, it applauds you for ruining a man. And then these women have the nerve to run around and say, why can't we find a good man? You killed him. And now you got the situation where there's a lot of young men and Gen Z, like millennials that totally got screwed over by, oh, just follow the leader right off the cliff. Go to college. Go to college. Follow your heart. Your money will follow. They did everything they were told to do. And you basically are cultivating a generation of Jerry Smith. Think about that. So these younger men, these Gen Zers, they're like, fuck it, I'll just fake crazy, claim I have the hut-to-huz, or I'll just work enough to get by and not do anything. They're like, well, these men aren't participating. Well, what did you do with the guys that participated? Did you reward them for being good men? And the answer is no. I think there needs to be some changes in the marital laws to protect people's assets. There needs to be something where a woman can't just cry on the stand and ruin a guy's life. Hey, remember Johnny Depp? If it wasn't for the fact he had that shit recorded, you know everybody would have thrown him under the bus. Jeff Bezos' ex-wife was the richest woman, not because she made that fortune, because she fucked the right man. Every time you see one of these good men crushed, it is a powerful signal. If they can crush the 1% with divorce, what are they going to do to you? And that's why we see marriage rates plummeting. Juice ain't worth the squeeze, as Barbarossa would say. That's just my thoughts. Thank you, anybody. Hit the likes. Thank you for hitting your subscribers. Freedom Phil, take it easy.